Alright, so here is my 5+ minute screencast-o-matic video that talks about Dave Burgess's book, Teach Like a Pirate, and kind of just reflecting on how I can implement some of his ideas to improve my quality of teaching and also my satisfaction or professional satisfaction over the next 5 years, or 5 or more years. So let's go to slide 1. I'm just going to go over these slides kind of just quickly here because I have a lot of slides. I'm just going to go over like the main points of each one and what from those slides I can use to make myself a more effective teacher. So here we go. So we have Teach Like a Pirate. The first section talks about passion, immersion, and rapport. Passion, he talks about 3 different levels or 3 different types of passion, which is professional, so why you became a teacher; content, which is subject specific, which is like what you're passionate about the actual subject; and then personal, which is like outside the classroom, which is like for me would be like sports and music and other things like that. He talks about incorporating all 3 of the types of passion into your profession. Like you should always try to find ways to take your personal passions into your professional passion. And if you don't have the passion for the specific content you're teaching, so like he used the example of railroads. Like he's not passionate about railroads. I'm probably not passionate about railroads either. But using my professional passion and my personal passion to try to make it still show the students that I do have the like enthusiasm and passion for that day, you know. Okay, so then we have immersion, which is swim with your students, be present with them all days, every single period, whether it's early in the morning or the very last period of the day. And then rapport, just letting your hair down, showing them that you're a person, try to make connections with your students and their daily lives, and be personal, be there for them. And then we have ask and analyze. So the one thing that I liked was the first thing that he really wants is for you to make the right questions and like properly direct your attention to where you can try to focus in your lessons and make them more creative and use like your relentless effort and hard work to try to make these lessons more creative. It's not going to be instantly beautiful and instantly creative. It takes long hard work, and it's not just going to happen overnight. So, and also, I really like this was like being safe, having the safe kind of lessons that just makes makes mediocrity. That's all it does, and trying to branch out and challenge yourself and challenge your students, and using that feedback and not being afraid of failure is what makes you become a better teacher and what makes you eventually, when you're 10, 15, 20 years down the line, a very effective and enthusiastic and passion teacher. Okay. And then we have transformation enthusiasm. I'm just going to go over transformation really quickly. It just talks about really honing in what you want your classroom to be, what your classroom environment should be, and trying to have this like goal to reach to, and this is what you want. And if you have that view, then you can kind of judge what your current classroom is, and having a realistic view. You have to have like a realistic view of what your classroom is now to be able to eventually get to that like ultimate goal of what your like dream ideal classroom experience looks like, because you're never going to progress if you're not realistic with yourself and not like really judging what your level of teaching is at, what your classroom experience is at right now. And then enthusiasm, just the commitment to being on. He says being on a lot, or like having the fire, which is like every period, just having the enthusiasm to that your students are just like, wow, if he's interested in it, I should probably be interested in it too. So he really centralizes on the word enthusiasm. Okay. Throughout the book, he uses enthusiasm. Like that's his biggest thing is enthusiasm and passion. So we have part 2, crafting engaging lessons. So I'm going to go through these quickly because there's so much information, but he just gives out so many examples of different hooks that you can do. So like presentational hooks, and then art hooks. So bringing art in, bringing music in, bringing dance and skits in, hobby hooks, so bring outside interest, real world interest. So like instead of just making instead of just saying this is important for the test, going beyond that and like making real world connections into their lives and the whole world around them. And then life changing, so inspirational messages, allowing questions for personal and reflection growth. That's another big hook there. And then all the world is a stage hook. These are all different hooks for the world being the stage. So interior design hook, just different ways to incorporate different students' interests. So like using interior design, board message hooks. So using the board as like a having like maybe a quote there or a question there that gets them instantly, like right when they walk in the classroom, they start talking about it, kind of thing. Costumes. He was really big about costumes. He always had like these cool costumes when we were doing different lesson plans. These huge like life-changing lessons that he was talking about. They're really cool, and props he was always really big on too. And then just involving the audience, so making sure that they're active participants and not just sitting there and watching you talk the entire time, and making sure that they can interact and respond and use different volunteers and all that kind of stuff. And then next is stand and deliver. So he does talk about standing and delivering hooks that you can use, like captivating stories. Talks about people, some people that he's seen being masters of storytellers and how he wished he could be like that. I also wish I could be like that. I'm not, so I have to find different ways to hook my students in. I can't just sit there and talk to my students and have them be compelled about this masterful story that I made up, because I'm not a very good storyteller. But I'll work on it, but I'm not there. And then like advanced tactics, so like Mission Impossible, I love this, like reality TV, doing solving mysteries and National Treasure, finding treasure maps. He does those types of lessons all the time. They're awesome. And then the last thing he does is building a better pirate. So he talks about three main things: is the awkward question, where do I start, and finding a crew. The awkward question is, do you want to be great? And of course you want to be great. Like striving for greatness is not like a selfish thing. It's a very actually unselfish thing in the teaching profession, because if you're trying to be great, you're trying to be great for not only yourself but your students, because that's going to directly affect your students. And talks about being on fire with passion and enthusiasm. These two words that he's using throughout the entire book. And then he like refers it to a poker game. So instead of just throwing little chips in, this would be like just being all in all the time. That's like how I kind of liked that analogy. It was really good. And then where do I start? So he talks about just starting right now. Like, don't be afraid of failure. It takes time. Like, you're not going to be instantly perfect and a great teacher right out of the gate. But like, just starting is the first step. And don't worry about being perfect. And don't be fearful of criticism and ridicule. Like criticism, take it constructively and try to make your lessons and your classroom environment better from those mistakes. And then finding a crew he talks about. So like take counsel in a wide variety of people, not just like your PLCs or people that you're working with, but also other professionals who are doing really well in their professions and taking what they do and how they're successful at it into your own kind of practices. I was watching a video documentary on Kobe Bryant, and he talked about like how he used different, not only just other athletes from different professions, but like business entrepreneurs and how they were so successful. And he used those like he interviewed them, talked with them, and kind of researched them like crazy. He was super passionate about trying to become a better basketball player by looking at other people's professions and seeing how, and these masterful people who are in their professions and how they're so successful and how he can translate that to his own sport, basketball. For me, it'd be teaching. So I really thought that was cool. And like I just recently watched that, so that's like kind of the connection I made to that. And that's pretty much it. Thank you for listening. Went way over 5 minutes, but super long book. Thank you.